Would you like to know the biggest solutions architect career mistake people make? A mistake that keeps them from getting promoted. A mistake that costs $3 to $5 million over their solutions architect career? If you want to know that, this video is for you. Hi, my name is Mike Gibbs. I'm an enterprise architect with about 25 years experience. I've held the role of solutions architect and principal solutions architect, and I can tell you, I've seen it, I've heard it, and I've lived it. The biggest mistake solutions architect can make that can cost them years in terms of promotions, hundreds of thousands of dollars of salary per year, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Here's the mistake. Any kind of architectural role is both an art and a science. And earlier in our career, the science is the biggest component of our role as solutions architects, cloud architects, any kind of architect for that matter. As we progress in the role, it's no longer the science of architecture that determines how far we go. It's actually the art of architecture. And I see it all the time. I have a working architect. They've been working in the role and they're learning things like sysops or how to write a Python script, things that are clearly not related to the architecture role, and they're purely related to the science of engineering. So let's talk about the actual art and the science of why it actually matters. So at the end of the day, the science only gets you so far. So if you can diagram something, but you can't speak CEO, at the end of the day, you're never going to get that architecture commitment from the client. Even if you design perfect technology, without strong change leadership and an adoption plan and a marketing plan around the cultural change, realistically speaking, the chances of your obs meeting objectives are slim to none. In fact, when change leadership and change management involved, according to Prosky, the increase in the results is 7x more likely to be successful. If you can't, as an architect, or don't focus on sponsor management, you'll lack the political capital to cover the delivery. Poorly engaged sponsors are just not going to get you there. In fact, they're tied with upwards of a third of all failed architectural initiatives. If you can design the solution but lack clear executive storytelling, you will never get buy-in. If you don't measure business outcomes, and you can't measure business outcomes, you won't be able to prove the architecture's value. You won't be able to prove whether the architecture is a success. And you won't know if you did anything. So if we look at the reality, large transformations, and this is McKinsey's data, at least 30% of the work has to come at the people level. People-centric actions, communications, alignment, what have you. So the science of architecture isn't going to get you to really architecture success alone. Now let's add in the art of architecture. And by the way, these are the skills that take someone from a $150,000 architect to a $300,000 architect or a $400,000 architect. It's executive storytelling and the ability to communicate to the C-suite and the board with a single one-page narrative that maybe gives them a financial headline, gives them a very good ROI model, and shows them what's in it for them to move forward with you. Business acumen and financial fluency are the difference between an enterprise architect and a chief architect role versus a solutions architect. So being able to build a business case, an ROI model, a total cost of ownership, understand the payback period and be able to calculate it, what have you, is what it's going to take to convince an organization to adopt your architecture long term. Now, typically speaking, I want to see a sponsor and a stakeholder strategy with any architecture. I want to know who has the power, who's interested in part of the solution, who's our active sponsors, who could be our alternative sponsors, who do we need as champions, what have you, in order to make sure that we've got adoption of whatever we need and buy-in for whatever we need. The art of architecture gets you to change leadership, which is really the key to success. Making sure the organization gets any benefits, that's coming from your ability to drive change in the culture. Marketing collaterals around cultural change, getting stakeholders to buy in the key components. So if we start looking at what we're dealing with, it takes a level of executive presence and social leadership skills to be able to create a team, lead that team, and to get people to take you seriously. It takes being able to figure out whether the organization's systems need to be tightly coupled or loosely coupled, whether they need strong business processes or loosely business processes, and how that needs to stay throughout the organization. And by doing so, we can advise that organization on how to be successful. So it's not just the science. It's not just how do I design my virtual machines? How do I design my containers? What's my routing strategy? It's really about delivering results. So what does it take to get promoted to enterprise architect or chief architect? They don't come from config skills. They don't come from hands-on skills, and they don't come from tech skills. They come from business strategy. So if you're a solutions architect and you want bigger roles, principal architect roles, distinguished architect roles, chief architect roles, enterprise architect roles, don't just focus on the science of architecture. Focus on the art and the science initially. Always keep up to date on the science, but as you develop the art of architecture specifically, that's where your promotions come in. That's where your salaries come in. And that's the way you build a long-term strategic, highly paid enterprise architect career, chief architect career, or even your principal or distinguished architect career. Now, if you'd like to become an enterprise architect, a cloud architect, a security architect, or an AI architect, join us in a completely free architecture webinar. We run them live on Zoom. They're free. We'll go over the architectural role of your choice, the skills you need for the architectural role of your choice, and of course, you can ask me any questions live and free on Zoom, and we'll answer them real time. You can sign up for any of our free architecture webinars. The link is in the description of this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell to be notified of new videos to assist you in your architect career. This is Mike Gibbs signing off for now, and I hope to see you in another video or another webinar coming soon. Take care.